Well, hi everyone. For those of you who've never connected before, this is the time slot that I try to reserve weekly for live streaming. This is usually having to do with creative coding and machine intelligence, but really it's just an expression of who I am and the projects that I like to tinker with when I'm not working or, when I just want to have fun or learn new things. So I see some familiar faces or familiar names on the chat. So hello, Tatiana, and we can talk more about who Tatiana is and her involvement in the Getting Simple podcast before. And for the past weeks, we've been. So one thing that I always ask: can you guys hear me? Okay? Can you see me well? And for the past maybe 3 or 4 live streams, we've been looking at a framework called Virtual Sketching. That is a framework that, or a publication with open source code that allows us to vectorize with really high accuracy line drawings. And I have been using it to vectorize my own hand sketches. And Thursdays with Nono. Yes. And, we have an overdue call that we have to do soon. So, because we have Tanya with us today live, I'm going to share that we did at some point an interview on the podcast. And we also have Jose Luis with us online today. So, quick announcement. We've released this episode, so with Andrew Witt, second time on the podcast, titled Formulations, Mathematical Design, and Writing. There are too many things that we talked about that we couldn't, summarize on a title. And for those of you who don't know who he is, Andrew Witt is an associate professor in architecture. So in practice, in architecture at the Harvard Graduate School of Design. He just published a book called Formulations. And in summary, we talk about how mathematics and computational methods transform the way we think, design, make art, and many other things. So in more detail, you can take a look at as always, at the detailed episode notes here. Some of my favorite quotes from this episode, people we mentioned, and my favorite part, the chapters, which will let you jump from one part to another of the interview. I'm trying to get a player, so in here you'll also be able to see the chapters. As in, I've seen that, for example, in Apple events, after they publish the recordings, they have those markers there, and you can just navigate. And for the time being, you can see those on the YouTube player. So you can basically see all of the markers here and navigate that each interview. And I'm thinking, I have some thoughts on like uploading some of these as highlights, separate videos, shorter videos, because this is a 2 hour and 10 minute interview or conversation. And also last mention of this podcast release, or like the way that we release, we if you're subscribed to the newsletter, which you can do if you go to gettingsimple.com/newsletter, or just go to Getting Simple and press here, you'll receive an email like this when an episode goes out, right? And what I did just over the past days is like I've added these links here. So when you get the email, you can, you don't see it because I'm in the middle of the screen. So maybe I can quickly hide myself. If I hover, I'm actually getting links at the bottom left of the screen for each of the timestamps. And, say that we wanted to directly jump to consistency. You just click here and it takes you to the YouTube video and you're on the consistency marker, right? So it's, I don't know, I'm trying to do this because I know for some people for everyone, time is limited and we don't have time to listen to the entire interview. So yeah, I'll just leave it there, and you can listen wherever you get your podcast. Okay, so I kind of got caught with talking about the latest release, but what I was gonna do, or where I was going, was actually scrolling down, because down here, oh, it's been some time. So 27, episode 27, we have Tatiana Yambasova, the art of asking the right questions, right? So I call her Tanya, but Tatiana is her name. And this was one of the most insightful interviews that I've done. And I have to say, Tanya was the person who's worked the most on preparing a narrative on her podcast interview, and it helped shape what you can see here. I mean, it as you can see, there's so many people we mentioned and so many things that we talked about. We have a first part in which I ask Tanya things, and a second part where she asks me things. And I actually have some video recorded of this interview, which has never been released. Maybe we do in the future. And as with every episode that we release lately, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. This one is a bit shorter. All right, and it's also been, so it's already been 2 years since we recorded this one. Okay, so let me go back and take a look here. So we can actually, I can go here and we can actually pop the live stream chat in here. I need a better way to do this, but for now, I wonder if like I can do this. If I do this, let me see. Let's play a bit with OBS. I haven't been too good at doing this. So while I'm at the left, so what I'm gonna do here, you see me 1,000 times here. I'm gonna try to quickly just grab a portion of a screen and put it there so we can pop the YouTube chat sometimes. And so Rob Beal is okay. Let me put the chat here so we can talk about what people are saying on the chat. So let me input here a window capture. We're going to say here YouTube live chat. Okay. We're gonna get, and I guess I'll have to update this, but Google Chrome live streaming YouTube video. Right, so okay. And I'm simply gonna crop this section here. And I guess right now it's a bit weird because you are okay. And I guess, I don't know, this might be a bit too big, but for now, this is good enough. I'm gonna leave it as it is. Okay, and hello, Bea. I see that you're also connecting. Okay, so the thing I'm gonna do now, let me just zoom out here. And did that get screwed? Okay, so that's good. Cool. So now what you can see, I have the possibility of toggling the window, so the chat window, so you guys can see what I'm seeing on the chat. What did I do? Okay, so when I move the window, if I resize the window, that's a bit problematic. Okay, let's see how we can do this. Okay. Not the best experience. Okay, and I see that Bea is also connecting with us. So hi, Bea. I also see on the chat Rob Beal is connected and Mohammed El Mesawi. So hi everyone and thanks for being online today with us. In here, Jose Luis says that he's also doing Thursdays with Nono, and Tanya says that she bought the book a few weeks ago. So the book that she's talking about is Andrew Witt's book, which is Andrew Witt Formulations, and you can find it on Amazon or MIT Press. And the book is basically formulations, architecture, mathematics, culture, and I highly recommend it. So maybe someday I can talk a bit more about it. If you look for formulations on my website, I guess this is the episode. This is basically the newsletter text that I shared, and yeah, I don't know. There are a few notes there, but nothing into detail. And Rob is sharing a link which I'm gonna open right here. So yeah, so and this is the post that I published on the newsletter, linking to the page I talked about before. Okay, so let me quickly hide the chat. So I'm gonna put this to different color so I know what it is on OBS. All right. So today I thought, as I was walking here to the studio, that I could do a meta live stream just really quickly as I start, because I hadn't prepared the slides and the things that I usually prepare for each episode. And I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to do that right now live, so we can see it really quickly what it is that I do every time that I want to go live, maybe a few days before, maybe on that morning or something. And usually I create a few things for the live stream. So I create a folder with the videos and edits. And so this is not a note. So let me just create a note. So usually I create a folder for videos, right? The full video of the live stream and then clips. Then I create a folder for the slides, and maybe if there are any snapshots or other artifacts that I create from here, maybe summaries for social media or something like that. And I also create the thumbnail inside of the thumbnails folder, right? So after doing, because this is live stream 66, I've been doing this for many weeks, and this process is super repetitive. I just have to clone the slide, create a new live stream, do things for later downloading the video from YouTube live, and many other things, right? So of course, because I'm a programmer, I wrote a script for this, and that script, for example, lets me go to live 65, and in here I have a make file that has some information of like the video ID, a command to download it, and other things that I commonly use. Like, for example, I can click, so I can run the make edit command, and that will open a new window and bring me to the edit window of live 65, right? So as I do this, for example, live 64, and I do make edit, and then I open a window to edit live 64. So these are handy functions that I use and I have built around the live stream, so I can live stream without it being super annoying and have a lot of friction. So the command, and this is all made with Typinator. There is a command that I will write something like live, and then right here the name of the live stream, and press OK. But I'm not going to do that just yet. So I have a lot of automations inside of Typinator, and there are some of them that are for the podcast and for the live stream. An example that I can tell you is lure or ampersand lure, LUR for live URL. And there is actually a Python script that executes when I run that command or just type those words. And in this case, this is really easy. So I would, and this is just an example of an automation that I use, because now we're going to show the automation I used to actually create a new live stream. So let's say that I want the URL of livestream 65. I would go to, because I have some short URLs, I'll go to nono.mas/live65. Then I'll open that the video, I copy the short URL or the URL of the video, and then I have it. Or maybe I press on edit and I can edit live 65, right? So instead, I made that little Python automation so I can copy this. So now if I paste, my clipboard is actually 65. That variable is actually used as the episode number or the live number on the command. So I can directly from here, I can directly run LUR, and automatically it gets expanded with a web call to the URL of the live stream 65, right? If I did ELUR, which is edit and that video, it gives me the URL to edit live 65, right? So let's say we want to edit live 34. So I'll basically just copy this number, which is 34, and I can do something like, I don't know if this will work. So let's try open LUR. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah. So now it's opened on another window, website to edit live 34. So that's an automation, right? So I say, oh, let's take a look at live or edit live 7, right? Let's see if that actually exists. So I do open LUR, and that is actually opening here. So I'm going to leave this window on the side. So this is live 7. So let's do it with live 15 once more. So I go here, ELUR, and then, oh, actually, yeah, open ELUR, and that opens to edit live 15, right? So one automation, and what we're gonna see right now is the actual automation that I'm using to create a live stream. It's around here, so it's this one, and there's a lot of stuff there. But long story short, something that I haven't run today, I can put the timestamp here of today and say live 66. This is the key name that I'm gonna copy for today's live stream. Is 24th of March of 2022, and today this is live 66. So because I have this on my clipboard, right, I can copy it all the time. I'm now going to run the ampersand. So let me zoom into there. I'm going to run the ampersand live command. This will pop up this typinator window, which asks me for a live code. And, this is something that I was doing before just to make sure that a live stream doesn't get created automatically without me knowing. But I could actually use the clipboard as I was doing before. So I would paste something here or write, right? So I'm going to paste the name of the live stream. I'm going to click on OK. And what just happened is that this text expanded to the command that you can see here. And, it's really hard to understand from here. But if we go step by step, I clear what's on the terminal. I print the name that we're going to use for this live stream. I print video because we're going to create the video folder. So we actually copy a video template folder to my the video folder with the name that we put, and we actually edit the makefile because we're going to have to edit the video ID on that makefile. Then we also copy the live template for the slides to the live and tutorials folder. We print slides, and then we move those those things that we've copied to the actual folder by renaming with today's live stream name. And we open the Keynote file, right? So we open the actual Keynote file on Keynote. That's going to happen now when we run the command. We print thumbnail. So we copy the thumbnail PSD template with today's name as well. So that has the name .psd. and we open that, which will open Photoshop with that template. We print stream, then we open YouTube streaming to manage. We open the live calendar to make sure that if we schedule for the future, we also add the entry, and we open the links to make sure that we create the short URL that will be none.mass/live/66, because I have to create that, and ideally that will be created automatically. So I'm gonna put myself on the right now, and I'm gonna execute this big command that you can see. Let's do it full screen. Well, let's actually not do it full screen because other applications are gonna open. Let's see what we have open right now. Let's close Keynote. And I haven't done the intro slides today because I want to do them when we have the slides. That is what I'm doing right now, what I'm creating. So let's actually stop here and see. We have on the clipboard the same text that I mentioned before, right? I can paste this here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call the and live command, which makes this window pop up. I put the name of this live stream and I click OK. So this text expands to this command. And what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna press enter and we'll see what happens. Right, so videos creating, slides are creating, thumbnail, stream, and done. And because I have my tabs on the other screen, these are the windows that opened. And this is Photoshop here, and this is Keynote here, which is on presentation mode. So maybe that's why it didn't open the slides, right? But if we get that command, this would have opened the Keynote, which would be here, right? So I have a checklist. Like, I do recommend checklists for anything that you do that you repeat over and over again. And this checklist is for, let me see if I can go there, to prepare a live stream, right? So there is a workflow, and this is what I was explaining. I run the live command, right? So that's we've already done it. Schedule stream, this is the only thing that I had to do before because the stream is going, so I couldn't skip this part, and the thumbnail, so I've added the thumbnail. The thumbnail, actually, instead of this one, this is a usual template that I employ, and I will just change, for example, here, podcast or AI sketching, right? So I write things here depending on the topics that we're gonna see on the day. Right, so this would be a template that I have just to make sure that I don't have to think a lot about how the layout is going to be. And once the live stream is done, I would normally mark as done the things that have been done, and the things that haven't been done I either hide or maybe put in low opacity, as like we didn't manage to get there. So I'm not gonna save this. I'm gonna open the thumbnails again, and I'm gonna show you the thumbnail that I actually did for today. So in Photoshop, this is the thumbnail that I did. Not this one, actually. It's maybe I didn't save it. Where is then? Let's take a look, because I think maybe. All right, so that was the image that I did, but it seems like I didn't save it, or I saved it somewhere else. Yep, it seems I didn't save it, unless I put it with a different name, which seems like deleted. Let's restore this version. Let's see if Dropbox saves the day. So this is reverting to another version of the same file. Yay. So we actually recovered the file. So this file was indeed something I saved, but the script had replaced it. Okay, so long story short, that would be the thumbnail gets copied over, it gets opened, and that's for the thumbnail part. And then I would make the live stream public. I'll add it to the calendar. So in this Google Calendar, I'll go here. I would duplicate another live stream. I'll say, okay, what is it today? 24th, 6, and then we'll put some tentative time, and we'll just put here this, maybe add a description with what we're gonna do on the live stream. So we click save. We are doing that already. All right, so that's for calendar. We've opened here the links, and you can see it on the streams that this is the stream that's going. So I can get the shareable link. I can close the streams page, and here I would simply do this to create a redirect, right? If I click here, so if I write here nono.mass/live/66, this really doesn't do anything. But if I create this redirect, if I reload, this takes us to today's live stream, right? All right, so that is for the redirect, the short URL, and the make file. We need to set the video ID, which is actually this thing at the end of the video, so we can simply copy that. And note that this make file is already opened on Visual Studio Code because I opened it with the same command, so I just paste this here, and I would announce it on Discord, which I already did, right? So once this is done, I can reset this checklist on Notion, and we can keep going with our lives, with the live stream. So live stream workflow. So this is usually the process that I follow, and there is another step that I do. Just this is still manual. So in 65, I'll put here the date, which I think was March 17. This would be like none of my live 65, and then I have to replace here the image of the thumbnail that we're seeing on the live stream from last week. So this would be probably this one is the one that we used. Okay. So that would be, how I make the slides. I usually would put here the topics, even though today we're not going to take a look at anything in particular. And then I would do, so that's the process to create a new live stream. And then I'll just go to OBS, set up my camera and all that stuff, and then click on start streaming and then go live on YouTube. This is usually what I do, so just remind people who are watching to like the video if you want to support the work that I'm doing with the live stream, and to subscribe if you want to get notified when I go live next or when I upload new videos. We also have the Discord server or the Discord community. I know that most of you that are online right now are already there, but if you're not, you can go to the QR code, or you can simply go to nono.masas Discord and you'll get to access the invite. And this, in this moment of this is kind of a meta live stream, because in this moment of the live stream, I will talk about what we did last week, which was learning how to draw Bézier curves with, by hand, let's say, with code, and also with the Bézier function or Bézier vertex function on p5.js. And I always invite people to submit a question that I'll try to answer on the podcast. You can submit a written question, but I always prefer voice notes, because that way I can play it on the podcast or in the video. And even though we don't have a video of your face, but we can play it there with your audio. And that's accessible through gettingsimple.com/ask. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to receive new questions. And these are the live stream goals, which I'm not going to talk about now. So today, we've already started. Today, I usually explain what I'm going to do, and then I say, oh, let's code. And then we close Keynote and get going, right? So this is from live 65. I'm going to close this thing. And that's a bit of housekeeping in terms of being able to generate a new live stream really quickly, right? Like if I show you let's say we make up that for like a future live streaming, like thousands of years, live stream X, right? So if we wanted to create this live stream, just so you see everything again, I would, because we've closed Photoshop and Keynote is here, I would have to do live, paste, okay, and just run it. And then a bunch of things are opening on my other tab. So my other screen, the calendar, the live streaming, all that stuff, the new file on Photoshop, and many things, right? So I'm gonna, the new make file, the new Keynote presentation, and all of that I'm gonna close. I'm just gonna show you kind of the footprint that we have accrued, because now I can, I think I can do C live and then say X here, and that gets expanded, so we can open that folder. And this is the sort of the footprint, right? The footprint is inside of YouTube video folder, you get these files to be created. This is all structure that's automatically created from this template. If we go to the thumbnails folder, we have created the live XPSD file, which opened in Photoshop. And if we go to the live and tutorial slides, we've created these files from this live template, right? So we can remove that. Probably would be handy to have a remove command, so instead, in case that I create a live stream and I end up not live streaming or editing anything, I can delete it. But yeah, so that is the automation that I've done, so I can quickly set up a new live stream and not have to spend a lot of time on that and focus on actually live streaming. All right, I'm talking a lot here. I'm gonna drink some water. And for those of you who are online, what are you looking to learn from me? What things would be productive to take a look at today now that you're live? What would be productive maybe to prepare for the future? Because I'm always looking for to learn a bit more about what the people who actually attend these live sessions are interested in learning, and what could be productive of our time. So yeah, I'll leave that question there so you can interact with me on the chat. And yeah, and we can see I have some ideas for today, but I'm open. And let me see, what time is it? So we have all right, so it's 6:30 here for me, 6:30 p.m. And I think we can, we have plenty of time today to do. Okay. All right. So the one thing I wanted to show in here, so let me just put a marker. So exporting GIFs from p5.js, right? I don't have a cover slide or anything, but let's take a look at how so let me record an intro screen here. Let me see if I can quickly put. So usually I record an intro screen here, and that way we can later export this as a separate video. Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and this is a quick hands-on coding overview on how you can export GIFs directly from the p5.js editor to create animations and maybe share them on social media, or just keep them as experiments. All right, so I'm gonna enter here the editor.p5js.org website. So this is an online editor that lets you edit and author sketches directly from the browser. I can, for instance, draw a circle at 100 and 100 of 50 of radius, right? And we could even switch these things to mouse X and mouse Y. So we create some interaction because now the circle actually moves as I move my mouse. Because I'm a registered user, I can actually go to my sketches and I can open and browse through the things that I've already done before and I've saved. And luckily, I happen to have here this GIF export template, which is a sketch that I've created. I'm going to put on the video notes or on the chat if you're watching this live. That is a template that has everything that you need to basically make a sketch in P5 and have it exported directly as a GIF animation. All right, so what do we have? Let me actually make this big. I think we can do that. Okay. Okay, and actually I might let me test something. Right. Right, I'm gonna take a quick break. Really quick break, 1 second. I'll come back in a moment. Okay, let's keep going. All right. So just a bit of feedback on what I'm doing. I'm basically trying to clone this sketch that I have here that already exports GIFs, and I'm trying to record an example so we can have a quick sample on how you can create GIFs from P5. And this template works. I know that. Just I want to see if I can preview the images directly from here. So let's do that, and we'll get going. And as I said, if you're connecting live now on the middle of the stream or something, say hi on the chat. Tell us what you want to learn and what you would like to see, because we can kind of see different things or take a look or maybe answer questions live. And that reminds me that we actually have a question live that I need to answer that was sent via the Google Forms, so like a written question. And all right, so let's keep going. Let me quickly see if this works, and we'll continue. Okay, so maybe we could. All right, so this works from the beginning. I'm just trying to add some new behavior, but I'll do that later. So let's restart this. Let's actually change this thing. And what we're going to do is simply say that we want to make a GIF. The frame count is going to be up to 120, but that's good. And we're going to record now. All right, so now we're recording frames. You can see there that the frames are being recorded, and the GIF is now being exported. So we have 40 frames, and this is the GIF that was actually exported. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do. Like, you can see the different images on the left, and we can play them. Great. And yeah, I don't know, we can do record anything that we really want. So I just put the flag in here, and now I'm gonna actually go through the tutorial that I was meant to be doing. All right, so leave this as it was. Okay. All right, so what you can see here is a template that I'm providing, and you can go to the link on the video description. And if we look at the files on this template, we actually have some files that I've put there for you already. Index.html, sketch.js, and style.css, those come by default, and I've done just some modifications to them. But I've added filesaver.min.js, GIF, and GIF worker. GIF is a GIF.js library that also needs the worker to make, to use the web worker of your browser tab to export faster. And then FileSaver allows us to save us the GIF, so it saves automatically with a given name to your downloads folder. We can also open the GIF. In Index, we actually have to add some code. We actually load here GIF.js and filesaver.min. That's everything that we've changed on index.html. But on sketch.js is where we put all of the code logic of our experiment. We actually see there's some GIF setup here at the top. First, we set the GIF object, the canvas object, which is going to reference the actual p5.js canvas. Frames to skip, this is just, I did this so it doesn't record the 30 frames per second, it records a bit less. This is good depending on the speed that you want to have. So if you basically skip 20 frames, your GIF is gonna be a lot slower. uh, according to what's happening on the canvas. If you put 1 or 0, it's going to be almost real time, and we can see that later. Make GIF, if you set this to false, you can execute your script for testing and actually not export anything. In is GIF exported, this is because we want to control that once our GIF has been exported and created for the length of frames that we want, it won't happen again unless we add some logic to our script for that to happen. Function setup GIF. On setup GIF, we actually said that we've recorded 0 frames, that our GIF is actually initialized. So we create a new GIF object that's from the GIF.js library. We say that we're going to use 2 web workers, the quality of the GIF, which I guess this is 10 out of 10, and the worker script, that is actually the gif.worker.js. I guess this could be faster and consume more computer resources if we were to like increase the number of workers that we're using. Then I create, and this is my kind of personal take, I create a unique UID. I do it this way, but I'm sure there are better ways. This is just the first way I thought of. And then there is this callback that will get called once we say that our GIF is finished, that we've added enough frames to it, that we're happy with it. Then this callback function gets created. We print that the GIF has finished. We say that rendering is false, so we're not rendering anymore. And we open a website, like a new tab with our image. And we also save that to the disk on the downloads folder of the browser with the name that we set here. We set up the GIF again, so we create a new empty GIF so we can create more GIFs on the same session, and we reset the recorded frames to 0. That's the initial setup for the GIF, and this will happen every time that we want to set up to start and generate a new GIF in a session. Then we have this setup function, which, as I said before, we reference the canvas that we're creating. This is not necessary. If you're not making a GIF, you could just call this function like this. But if you want to keep a reference for something like grabbing screenshots of your canvas, this is good. Set anti-alias, that's just so we have more resolution on the image. Not resolution, but it's actually more needed. And then we have the setup GIF, right? We do this at the beginning once, but we can do it as many times as we want after we create a GIF. We have our drawing code here. The background, this is all drawing code. We don't need to put a background. We can use another logic here. And now here we have 2 more blocks of the GIF, and then we end this sketch.js file. GIF add frame. This is an if condition that needs to be met for the script to actually add frames according to your frame to skip pace that you're setting. For me, the logic is if you're saying that you want to make the GIF up here, a frame gets added, but also the GIF has to be set as it hasn't been exported yet. And also here we have that it's either the first frame or a frame which modulus goes according to the amount of frames you want to skip. So that means that if you say you want to skip 10 frames and you export frame 1, then you'll export number 11, number 21, I think, 31, and so on and so forth. We say to the console that we've added the frame. We actually add the frame to the GIF. So we add the canvas object. The delay is 30. This means how much time we want that specific frame to stay on the canvas, because you could have actually a series of frames and some of them might stay longer than others if you wanted to keep maybe like the first frame for longer and then have an animation happen, so that you don't have to repeat frames if there's no movement on your animation. And then we copy that. Yeah, we copy that. True. Okay. And then render when done. The condition is that the GIF has to be set to true, make GIF. The GIF hasn't been exported because we're going to export it. And now here, this is set to false, so we don't export, but we'll replace with a condition to render. So for example, we could say that the frame count is more than 100. I think it makes more sense to say that you already have, I don't know, 30 frames, for example, or like an amount of frames that you want to get to, or a duration in time. But for now, this is the logic that we're using. So we're going to say that our frame count is more than 100. For example, you could say here that you don't want to start adding images until your frame count is greater than 100. and then maybe end at 200, right? So we'll get the amount of frames from 100 and 200 minus the amount of frames that we're skipping. And then we'll say that the GIFs has been exported, so we won't continue adding frames here. And we'll render, which we'll call our callback, and say to the console that we'll actually export in the GIF. So with all of that said, right, I'm going to make here a little experiment. We're going to say we're not exporting, and we'll say play and auto refresh, right? So here's the sketch that I'm actually making, right? So I'm actually making a sketch that just takes in a circle. And maybe to make it a bit more interesting, we could say that our param t is going to be math sin 0.005 to make it smaller. And here we're going to put the frame count as our parameter, right? So we're going to multiply this by, let's say, 5, and we're going to add 5. So this circle radius is going to be 40 plus t, so it's going to be, I think it's plus minus 5, if I don't remember wrong. Maybe we put here 5, and then we put here 10. I don't remember now, but yeah, I think this is good, and this is auto refreshing. All right, that's happening really slow, and it's something that you cannot even see, right? So let's make this a bit bigger, and let's make this a bit faster. All right, great. So maybe even less. All right, so we have that animation there. Let me maybe make this bigger so you can actually see it, and make the stroke weight be 15. So just quickly, quick check-in. So I see that there's people online, and yeah, just let me know how you found us, where you're connecting from. If there's anything that I can answer today, maybe something that you want me to take a look at. Yeah, I'm here. I'm live, and this is different from other videos that we've posted, because there is no specific topic today that I'm going to cover, so I'm just playing around. And if you have anything in particular that you like to take a look at, let me know. All right, so here I'm trying to make a bit more logic, and then we'll just be exporting a GIF and checking that this all works. So our radius is this, so we'll just put this here, and we'll put here X and Y. And I'm gonna do here, mouse X is gonna be X math min, or mouse X so I wanna see All right, so we're just gonna make so the circle never leaves the canvas. We can actually just reference with the so width. We'll do here offset. So let maybe offset is this. All right, so we got the behavior on the x-axis, and on the y doesn't work yet. We're just gonna copy the same to the y, and we'll just put here the height. All right, I guess that is what it is. So this is what I wanted to do. And then maybe okay, yeah, I think this is okay. All right, so now we'll say that we want to export, and we're skipping 3 frames. Let's see how that goes. All right, so we'll say here true. We'll stop. We're gonna skip 3 frames, and then we'll play here. All right, so we've exported with 34 frames, and this is exporting now. Right, so this is our GIF. Great. So as you can see, it goes faster than what I did because I have these frames to skip here. And if I were to set the so let's say here frame count equals 1, I'm gonna set the mouse X to width and mouse Y to height divided 2. So we're gonna say this is false. Okay, and well, I think maybe we don't need to do that. So we'll do, this is gonna be 300 by 200 to have a smaller GIF. And all right, so that's what we're doing at the moment. And I'm gonna say that we don't want to skip any, we just skip 1 frame. All right, so we'll now say true to export. Now we had it 101 frames, which if we're skipping 1, I don't understand, but yeah, and this is the GIF that we just made. Because it's not synced on the on the face or something, there is this jump, but on last week's video I actually synchronized the face with the frames that are being exported, and that way we don't have to, we make sure that there is a smooth transition. Hi, Jean-Marc. Happy to see you are online from sunny Sling, Czech Republic. Awesome. Yeah, maybe send some pictures. We're having a really weird weather here in Spain. There is, at least in Malaga, there is sand coming from the south, so from the north of Africa, like through the wind and the clouds, and the rain has little pieces of dust. So everything, like all the floor and the buildings and the vehicles on the streets, are covered in mud. And if you walk around, like your clothes get filled with like little dust or mud spots, which is super annoying. But it's interesting. It like the sky is orange or like reddish, and it seems like we're in Mars. All right, so this is a basically a like an experiment to export GIFs, and if you use it, I put the link in there, and I'm gonna put the link as well for this other sketch just to have a bit of fun. I'm gonna make another GIF, so skipping a bit more frames, and all right, so now we're adding frames. All right. And actually, now that we're talking about that, mm, save. I'm gonna stop the auto refresh. I'm gonna leave this, and I'm gonna put so p5 sketch. Um, Orange snow as well. I didn't know that. So yeah, I have some. Let me see if I can pull up some of my images from that. So that's the. So this is the view from my window, not where I'm right now, but this is, this was this morning. Yes. Yeah, I like this background, so maybe I can do my live streams with the background like this. Seems like I'm in a in my living room or something. So yeah, these are the colors. It's super interesting, and I don't know how long this is gonna last. It's a bit annoying to get your clothes dirty, but I don't know. I guess it's cool. Like, we gotta enjoy the moment that is a bit different from what we have usually. All right, so um, we've finished with the experiment of like exporting to GIF. Any questions? So I'm trying to work on. So I'm trying to learn and work towards actually creating material for designers to learn machine learning at that conceptual level, but also at an implementation level and user level, so that they can consume. Have you guys seen any good sources for that, or is there anything that you're particularly interested on learning more about? I'm personally I always have this feeling that I'm learning, but that I don't know anything. And I would, if there's anything particular you would like to see, I would love to see that today. Maybe take a look. I'm gonna show a few things now. Yeah, that looks like the fire season sky, but luckily this is not due to fires and any other problems like that. All right. So live 66. I'm gonna create a new folder to store the GIFs that we've made, and da, 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 da. Okay, and I don't know. Just people probably don't understand anything, but I'm gonna post this GIF there. Okay, great. So what I said before, okay. So uh, Tanya is asking where previous folders with the material, so where folders with the materials from previous sessions are. Okay, so I do have this one. Well, I have two folders in different computers offline, which I need to put online, right? Like we need to upload a lot of the material, and it's a bit of a. I mean, it's not a mess because each folder has its own files, and we do have a lot of content, but there is a lot that is not online. That's kind of the bad part of the story. The good part, or like the part that is indeed online, and I'm gonna put a link on the chat, is github.com/nonoesp and then /live. This is a repository with some of the contents that I have put online, which have to do mainly with code repositories and scripts and things like that. And these are online. So these are, I'm going to put it right there. You can start the repo, like save a link. Live, so live repo. Okay. And yeah, and I intended to add a lot of links like this for each of the live streams. And the idea, it's going to be hard because after 66, if we haven't done this properly, it's really challenging. I do have a lot of notes here from the different seasons. So for example, in season 1 we had notes for each live stream, and maybe an idea is that we are gonna share that, so we're gonna put that somewhere, and we'll see. It's been really hard because the process of the live stream has changed over time so much, but at the end of the day, usually for each episode we can have a few code snippets, we can have notes, we can have outputs that we've created, maybe data sets. And there is also links on the Discord community. So we have, let me check. Oh, what did I just do? All right. Yeah, you're welcome, Tatiana. And yeah, on the live stream channel, it's a bit messy because there's more conversation, but I've been trying to put the number of the live stream that we are at, so live 64, and then we put the collab notebook, and that has the code exercise we've done. We go up, we have like 64, we have like 63, right, and so on and so forth. So for example, here we did live 62, I think. Like, I don't know, it's a bit of a mess. And then there is also write-ups here. So on nono.ma, there's actually write-ups. So if you look for live, yeah, so there are write-ups on my blog about some of the experiments and things we've done. So I'm looking for help. If anyone wants to work on this with me, of course, is paid work, and I'm trying to gather all the information and create information also on docs for future live streams. But yeah, the idea is that we'll have a one pager where you can say live stream number one, and that will link to all of the resources regarding that live stream, like code, guides, reference links, outputs that we've done. So yeah, it's gonna take some time, but we'll get there. And for sure, we'll try, when we establish a process, we'll try to do that for every subsequent live stream that we get in the future. All right, so let me put a marker here. Marker, we're gonna do something cool now. Marker, text, embeddings, and sentiment analysis. Yeah, it's a mess. I know. I mean, I know that this is all for free, and that I do it for to learn myself, but and to help other people learn. I hope that we can, that we can get help to actually organize everything. There is like also the code for this application is also online, so it's something that we've been building, and it's been open sourced. There's a lot of stuff there. I just haven't made a good effort in adding data sets and other things. But usually the Colab notebooks are shared publicly and are around there. All right, so what about making now an experiment, reusing pre-trained weights from neural network that is trained by Google on 7 billion words, I think, or I don't know, like I think 7 billion words, to do sentiment analysis with machine learning. So that's something that I recently learned. It's basically reusing a model that already exists and retraining for something else. And I'll bring here Tanya's comment. Well, I have to say it's really weird to talk to you, Tanya, like this, because you cannot reply back more than just on the chat. But thanks a lot for watching and for interacting today. I mean, it makes my time here live streaming a lot better, and I'll thank you for that. We need to catch up. All right, so let's make a quick slide. Like maybe we can do another slide. Sentiment analysis. All right, I'm gonna put a marker here. I'm testing a new way of putting markers. Hi everyone, it's Nono here, and this is a hands-on coding overview on how we can do sentiment analysis by reusing a pre-trained model from TensorFlow Hub that Google has trained on 7 billion words. And specifically, we're going to try to use that model, and we're going to try to do basically generate a rating of IMDb reviews. This means giving a number from 0 to 1 to each new review or new piece of text that we input, and it will hopefully give us a rating of whether that's a 0, which means that it's a really bad comment to the movie or the series or the content that we're talking about, or something closer to a 1, which is like it's superb, it's like terrific, or it's super, super good. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so that's my intro, and I'm gonna close this again. And I just want to hear, are you guys excited? Do you want to, do you want to see what this is about? I was surprised of how easy it is and how convenient Google makes it to do these things. Okay. So here I have the experiment that I've already done on my own, right? So this is of the video tutorial. Let's say we release that, and we're going to set. So I'm gonna set this aside, and I'm gonna create a new notebook, and we're gonna do this from scratch. So if you wanna follow along later or like try to look at it more, you can do that. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open Google Colab and I'm going to create a new notebook. So I just type colab.research.google.com, go to new notebook and put a name to it. Next, I'm going to go to runtime, change runtime, and I'll make sure to make the GPU enabled in this notebook. Click on save, and now I can go to connect, and Google will reserve a GPU and connect it to my notebook in here. So this is the easiest way that I found to do machine learning experiments really quickly. Why is that? And that is because I can directly, after, we have now a machine with a compute engine backend GPU. We have RAM and disk space for us, and we can directly call import TensorFlow as TF and print the TensorFlow version here without having to have installed anything. The kernel in this notebook already contains all of the things that we need to do what we need to do with machine learning today. Right? The version of TensorFlow is 2.8. All right, so to do the experiment, we're going to take a look. To do this experiment, I'm going to enter here a URL to a TensorFlow Hub model that is called NNLM with 50 dimensions. We'll see what that is in a second. And what is TensorFlow Hub, in case that you're wondering, right? TensorFlow Hub is exactly that. It's a hub of TensorFlow models that are pre-trained, many times it's network architectures, and you can directly pull them into your code or even into as a layer of your Keras or TensorFlow model and do transfer learning or directly use them to classify images, text, or do any other machine learning or artificial intelligence operations. In this case, this model that I'm looking at today does the task of text embedding and is a token-based text embedding model trained on English Google News 7 billion corpus, right? It has the Apache license published by Google, has the NNLM architecture, and has been downloaded 50,000 times. This is a TF2 safe model, and there are different ways that are shown here on how we could use this model directly. We could use it as a model, so we can say, okay, import TensorFlow Hub as hub, and then embed or load this model. We can directly get the embeddings of pieces of text, which will give us, as the name of the model says, a 50-dimensional vector or tensor with 50 numbers that basically are what's called embeddings, or some information that has meaning for the neural network. And that is basically a set of features extracted from text that we're going to be able to later use and maybe train a classifier like we're going to do today. And we're going to get a probability from 0 to 100 or from 0 to 1 of how good a review is, or the sentiment on that review, right? As I was saying, we can use it directly to get the embeddings, which we're going to do first, but we can also use it as a Keras layer. So we can have a layer here and we can add it to a sequential layer, so a sequential Keras model as one more layer, and then we can add a dense, two dense activation layers and get a probability. All right, so let's go with the first experiment, right? So I'm gonna set this on the side and we're gonna have these two windows. So you see, I'm gonna put this on my other screen here. And this is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna do now import TensorFlow hub as hub. And every time I do this, you can check that this is imported properly by executing this cell. I'm executing the cells with shift return, but you can just click play, right? So this will import the library if it's not being imported into the runtime on the Python environment. And you print the hub, you see that the model TensorFlow hub has been imported correctly in your machine. If you were to print something else, so print ABC, that will complain because it doesn't exist. So we know that hub has been imported properly because it's printed correctly. So we'll do embed hub load, and then we'll write here the model URL that we can get directly from the window we were taking a look at before, right? So this URL is the model, and this number 1 is actually that this is the version. So this might have version 2 if we click here. This also loads, and what we'll see is that the version of the model that we're talking about now is version 2. That doesn't seem to work for me, but I'm going to leave it at version 1. All right, so I'm going to move this again, and we're just going to load that embed model, right? This is going to take some time. This is actually going to download the model to the computer or the machine running our notebook, and it's going to load it, right? So this load part here, it's basically download the model files and load them. If I now print or just basically output the embed variable in the next cell, you see that this is a TensorFlow Python safe model. It's actually a TensorFlow version 2 safe model that is compatible with TensorFlow 2.8. And from here, we can do our embeddings of any piece of text that we want to input, because this model actually takes text as an input. So we can directly do here this and call embed and put here something like Nono is live streaming on YouTube, right? So we just do this and we get the embeddings. Let's take a look at the embeddings now, and we'll see what we were talking about before. This is a one-dimensional vector. It's a 1D that has 50 components or 50 numbers, and these are the 50 numbers or 50 features that the model has extracted out of the box for this sentence. What does that mean? It's hard to know from here what it means, but probably there is some explanation somewhere that tells you what each of the features might refer to. Some of them might refer to complexity, and other ones to sentiment analysis, whether they're swear words or not, where it's about love, where it, their combinations of these parameters will mean different things, which we're not gonna understand today. But we're gonna use this as a TensorFlow Keras layer to retrain on the IMDb dataset and actually do another task, which is sentiment analysis, as we said before. All right, so let's keep going. Let's try to get to do this exercise. All right, so what we're gonna try to do here, let's organize this a bit. So we don't really need to print this thing here, so we can load our dependencies up top here. And we're gonna need also the TensorFlow datasets as TFDS, right? This is a library that allows us to grab datasets from the internet really quickly. And this is an experiment to load the NNLM. Is it NNLM? Yep. And the 50 V1 model. Right, so we could do this all, to summarize, we could do this all in one cell and basically print the embeddings. All right, so what we're gonna do now is that we're going to do sentiment analysis on IMDb reviews. All right, what do we need for this? We need a new model, which is going to be a TensorFlow Keras sequential model, which takes a set of layers, right? So we could have here layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and so on and so forth. And for those of you who don't know, TensorFlow layer, so TensorFlow networks or any machine learning network has a series of layers, and there is multiple operations that can happen. But a sequential model is a model that has one layer after the other. So for example, one that takes your input image, for example, another one that does a convolution, another one that does another operation, and maybe does some further processing until you get to the bottom and actually have some features. Because usually the objective in machine learning is to input some sort of data and have a set of layers or machine learning operations, basically mathematical operations to your data, which extract features from that information. What we were seeing before, those embeddings, are the features that we've obtained from text. And usually on images, we obtain other information such as what textures the image has, how much contrast, how much dark colors, how much light colors, and many other things that get to be the features or embeddings or of the output of the network, right? So what layers do we need here? We'll need a first layer that is actually going to be the pre-trained model that we had before. We're going to input some text and it's going to output that 50 numbers, those 50 numbers as floats, right? The embeddings of the text that we input. And then later we just have those 50 float numbers as input to this next layer, and then the last layer has to convert whatever the other layer is doing into a probability from 0 to 1 for, or like a rating from 0 to 1, right? So we're going to say here we need the TF hub NNLM. I don't know why this does this all the time. English 50, so 50 dimensions. Then here we'll have a dense layer, and below here we're going to have another dense layer. These dense layers they're going to be of 128 and of 1, right? And we'll have here the ReLU activation, and here we'll have a sigmoid activation. All right, so what do we do with this? Then later we'll have to compile the model. And to do this, we just have to call hub.keras layer, and again, input the same URL with our model. Then we'll basically get other two layers. So we have here the TensorFlow Keras layers, dense 128, activation equals ReLU. Make sure to put a comma because this is actually an array, a Python array, a list of things. And maybe we can name the things here. So NNLM, English 50. And then this is a dense layer. And then here we have a TensorFlow keras, layers, dense, one, activation, sigmoid. And we can talk about these activations and things another day. All right, so this is our model, and we could do here, I think, model summary to print a summary of what of the architecture of our model. The model has not yet been built, and this is because we need to compile it, right? So we're gonna move the summary below, and we're gonna do model compile, and here we actually need to specify the loss type, the optimizer to use, and the metrics, which is going to be an array of strings in this case. The loss is binary cross entropy in this experiment. The optimizer is atom, and the metrics are accuracy, right? We're going to look for the best accuracy we can get, and then we'll compile the model, and then we will be able to get the summary. But it seems like we're not able to do that. All right, so we'll leave the summary for later. So we do that and we have a model, and now we need to actually train the model with model.fit. But we do need a training set in a number of epochs that we're going to train for. So let's train for 5 epochs at the first experiment. And here's where we get the data sets and the info from the TFDS, the TensorFlow dataset load. We have to put here the name of the dataset, so IMDb reviews as supervised true, and with info equals true, right? So you can see I'm gonna break this down in, as you can see. So we're gonna get here a variable named train size, info splits, train, number of examples, and the batch size, which is going to be 32. And then our training set is going to be the data sets, train, batch, and then we do batch size, and then we do prefetch 1. And this is something necessary we need to do for the model.fit to actually train properly on our data. So when we run this, right, so we're gonna actually because we don't need to execute this together all of the time. We can put a separate cell. So we actually do this cell so it downloads and prepares our data set, and then later we'll do the model fit for training. And before we go, I'm going to make sure to share this notebook with everyone. So I'm going to make it public and copy the link, because I many times forget about that and it's a bit frustrating. So I'll put this already on the notes. So Colab notebook. Okay, so let's bring, because we've done this feature, let's bring this here. I guess the summary function will work after feeding the model to get the info about the input shape. Nice. Okay, so that is something that I had forgotten. It's true. We could have specifically, so explicitly specified the input shape with an input layer. I'm not sure if it's actually TF-Keras layers input. Let me see. I think it's of this type. So if we do that, I think we can compile the model. Yeah, we could compile the model because we have to specify a shape here. And we might be able to create the model, compile, and get the summary directly. But I'm not 100% sure. So, and I'm, this is, I'm not used to this. I'm covering the screen. All right, so now that the dataset has downloaded, we're just going to do model fit, and we'll feed this model, which is basically training for 5 epochs, and we're going to be able to use it. Then we can train it for longer and actually see if it works better. While the model, I mean, this is going to end now, so let's just wait. As an aside, now that I'm waiting, Mohammed, can you comment a bit on the chat of what your experience is with machine learning, what models you've used, and I don't know, just to see if there is something that you've done that we could also take a look at on the live stream, or maybe that we can learn from you. All right, so the experiment has finished, and now we can print our model and see that we have here a Keras sequential model. We're going to try again to print the model summary now that we feed the model. And as Mohammed is saying on the chat, now we can get to see the model because, or the summary of the model, because it can infer the input shape and the dimensions of input dimensions of each of the layers on the model and the parameters and stuff. So we have a first Keras layer, which actually comes from the pre-trained model that we're getting from TensorFlow Hub, and then we have our two dense layers here. The model has 48 million trainable parameters, and those are actually coming from the Google Corpus model because the layers that we're inputting here are not that big. All right, so now we can predict, right? So we can say here we're going to predict, and how do we do that? We just need to call the model.predict method, so model.predict, and we input again an array or a list of text, right? Or of like phrases or sentences. And we can do, for instance, the movie is terrific. And another one that says, this is the worst movie ever. All right, so if this worked, we would get, so we're going to get two numbers, one for like a rating for the first sentence telling us how good it is, and also this one, right? If we get a 1 for this, the model would be working perfectly because it's saying that the movie is really good. If we were getting a 0 for this, it would be working really well as well because the model is telling us that this review means that they didn't like the content, right? So let's click play here and execute this cell. And you can see it doesn't really work that well because it's giving us a higher rating for these compared to this. Let's actually just, out of curiosity, remove the dots or the periods. All right, so now it seems like the periods were confusing this a bit. I'm not sure whether everything is meant to be lowercase or what. All right, so this is something that is super important, right? Just by training the model 5 epochs, it seems like if we add weird characters that the model doesn't know about, like the th and the periods, these actually are results that don't make any sense, right? This is 53% and this is 66%, which doesn't correlate to what it should be. But already with 5 epochs, if we input the text as it needs to be, it's telling us that there is an 87% chance, or like not 80% chance. This is actually rating it as it is an 87 out of 100, and this a 40 out of 100, which means this is a good review because above, it's an 8.7, and this is a 4.0, which is really, really good. And yeah, so I guess this is impressive because it's only been 5 epochs. So we're gonna actually, this might take some time, but we're gonna actually train it for 50 epochs and wait and see how the model's performance increases, because with 50 epochs there is a lot more time that the model can learn about what it's actually doing, and 5 epochs is really, really few epochs. And then we'll predict on the same thing. So this is predict with, so after 5 epochs. And there is something that I've done that I don't like, so I'm gonna actually close it. The model is actually right. Let's stop this. The model is actually a variable, right? So we train for 5 epochs, and the model is already better than without training. If we run model.fit again, we'll train for 50 more epochs, not up to epoch 50, but 50 more epochs. And what I want to do now is, and this is why I separate these cells before, is because we have this sequential model definition. If we click here, we're recreating the model from scratch with new layers, and we're compiling it again. We don't need to download the dataset again, but now we have a model that doesn't know anything. And I'm unsure if you can even run this if you haven't fit the model. Let's try it. All right, so this is giving 50 and 50 because it doesn't really know anything about whether these things are good or bad. They haven't trained for any epoch at all. And you can see that after 0 epochs, we're getting actually this like 50-50. After 5 epochs, we already get 87 and 40. And what we're gonna do here is see after 50 epochs how well the model is doing. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna train now for 50 epochs, and now this is gonna take, let's see, so 50 multiplied by something divided by 60, so 7 seconds per epoch. So it's gonna take around 5-6 minutes, right? 5 or 6 minutes. This is 7:39 for me, so maybe around 7:45 we'll get that output. And we're gonna say that directly. Whenever you finish with that, execute this and see the output with 50 epochs. All right, let's take a look at what Mohammed is saying on the chat while this is training. So Mohammed El Masawi is interested in machine and deep learning track. So in the machine learning and deep learning track, and the link with architecture, especially the generative models. All right, so we have done some work with generative models more for image generation and sketch processing more than actually generating 3D models or any other design options. But yeah, that's a super interesting topic, and there's a lot of there are a lot of publications and things that we can take a look in the future that are related to that. All right. While the model trains, I'll just a quick reminder in case you haven't done so, or of people that have come during the live stream. Remember that you can support the work that I'm doing here by liking this video and to subscribe if you want to get notified when I go live next or when we upload new videos. That hopefully is more often. And don't forget to join the Discord community and introduce yourself if you feel comfortable doing so. All right. And what else is Mohammed saying? I found a great chance to join you and Professor Garcia Castillo and others talking about the AI and the architecture and samples of his recent works. Thank you guys. Yeah, no, I mean this is awesome. Like you guys make this project and all of the things that we do outside of our full-time job more meaningful for me. I keep learning. All of the things that I'm showing are things, for example, this thing of the embeddings that I'm explaining today, I learned over the weekend and I didn't know anything about. And everything, as I do more and more, everything makes a lot more sense. I would also recommend for people watching one of the playlists that you can watch to get started with some of the concepts. It's a bit messy, I would say, but there is a machine intelligence playlist. It's called machine intelligence here, and it has some. If you go to the beginning, probably has some more basic videos. It's not super good. I want to make it a bit more, let's say, beginner level. But you have things like intro to Colab. It's a 10-minute intro to Colab. Some question Q&A that we've done on the live stream. Um, some examples of how to use YOLO. Runway videos that might be good. more Q&A, some things with Python and TensorFlow, Tensor, and basics. I especially like, I don't know where it is. Maybe visual. Yeah, this I especially like this video, visualizing tensors as images. This is super useful for those of you who want to try to understand a bit more what like matrices and tensors are and how they play a role in importing, like in moving around image data in neural networks, because it's often easier for me at least to visualize things with code, and so visually visualize like the tensor contents with images, right? So I'll put that on the chat, this video. And yeah, I don't know, where is this video? Visualize tensor flow tensors as images. This is okay, so it's actually there. Great. All right, so we're a minute 43, so that should be hopefully finishing up. We're at epoch 43 out of 50. And yeah, if you guys have any other comments or any other questions, I'll ask you to put them on the chat. I'm gonna wrap it up really soon, and as soon as we see this experiment works. And yeah, I've learned something today. For example, like I didn't know that this model was so affected by periods and capital letters. All right, and one thing really quickly before it trains, IMDb reviews, let's say Batman, for example. So the Batman 2022, right? It has an 8 out of 10, and it has a bunch of reviews. So we click on the reviews, and we're going to go to the top rating, so to the 9s, for example. And we're going to go to, I want to go to the highs and the lows. So this is a 10. So this is a 10, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the periods and punctuation and everything, and I'm going to run the prediction on those, right? So 10 out of 10, let's put this here, and we're going to do one thing. So all the commas, just going to be a space, the periods are going to go away. We're going to select everything. Let's actually do this for two of them at the same time. So I want to get like a low number. Let's put here review rating, and we'll do low to high. So this is a 1. Phenomenal flop. Where's the matrix? So boring. Okay, so all right, so I don't know, randomly. So this is a 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. I'm gonna put this here, and we're gonna convert it in the format that we need to put it on the model. So we'll say that all the commas have to go, and I'm gonna select all of the text, and there's this handy function here on Visual Studio Code that can say like up lowercase, transform to lowercase, and it makes everything lowercase. All right, so now I'm simply going to remove all of the spaces here to make it just a one-liner. Put a comma because we're formatting for Python, and we do the same with the other one. So we're gonna have these two things here, and now that our model has trained, we'll see that nice. So it's even getting closer, right? So now the movie is terrific, it's a 97%, and this is the worst movie ever is a 35%. So this is also probably a really good data set because it has been able to learn for these simple sentences, let's say. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy our new reviews. All right, so we'll put, let me see. So maybe we can try to see if this works. All right, so that seems like it works. And what about for the other one? All right, so let's make this big again. So these are reviews, real reviews from IMDb from the Batman 2022. All right, so we're gonna predict. You ready? Hit play. Whoa, all right. So this prediction model considers that the 10 out of 10 review is actually a 99%. So it knows that it's really good. And the one that is a 1 out of 10 is a 2.9 in reality, or a 3. What does that mean? Probably that the person here wasn't able to express something that the model considers a 1, right? I'm not sure what words we could put there that makes to make this go lower, but I think this is a really good summary that this is working, right? If we don't train the model at all, everything's 50-50. It's no better or worse. If we train it for 5 epochs, like the first one goes up and the second one goes down. If we train for 50 epochs, it goes even higher, a lot higher, and then the one on the bottom goes really low. And for something that we've actually got from the internet online, actually it knows that the one on the top is really, really good and the one in the bottom is really, really bad. Just a note that there might be quirks like this, punctuation things or other things that might affect how the model is understanding your data, and you need to do tests. We don't know the nature of the corpus data set, and we should actually look at it to see how it was trained and why it might make some things work better than others. All right, so it was Nono here. It was my pleasure. That I hope that you enjoyed this video. This was a hands-on coding overview on sentiment analysis. We use TensorFlow Hub, we use Keras, we use TensorFlow, we use the IMDb reviews dataset, also from TensorFlow datasets. And we've seen how we can get an existing pre-trained layer, use it in a custom sequential model, and retrain that model to perform a different task, right? Like the TensorFlow Hub model actually gave us 50 different features or embeddings out of the text sentences as strings that we were inputting on the model. And we retrained to actually get a ranking of how good or bad an IMDb review was. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed the content that I'm making or you'd like more videos like this, and to subscribe if you want to see when I go live next or when I upload new videos like this one. Bye. All right, so that's just an outro, and I just want to say thanks for everyone who was online today. I had a lot of fun, and I will actually see you next week. I've shared the link to this live stream on the Colab notebook on the chat, so you can get it from there. And I look forward to talking more to you. Tanya will touch base, and I'll call you. And for Mohammed and Rob and everyone else, thanks for being there. John Mark, Jose Luis, everyone who popped up. And yeah, we'll continue talking during the week on the Discord server. Please don't stop sending recommendations or things to read or other things to the Discord. I know Rob is super proactive doing that, and many things have actually made it to month long exercises and things that we've done on the live stream, and that is fantastic. I'll get on the feedback of publishing a more cohesive list of maybe files and notes for previous live streams. I know that there's some people that might be helping me on that task. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you. Much love. Big hugs.